Hi, my name is Joe Macknight. I'm Transaction Banking and Technology Editor at The Banker, and I'm here with John Lawrence, who's Head of Transaction Services at DBS. Thank you so much for joining us here at Sibos in Singapore. So John, can you tell me a little bit about what you think are the hot topics here at Sibos?
Well, so far I think the key hot topics have come up in my interactions with people at the conference. I think first and foremost, the buzz around fintech and what's happening with blockchain, distributed ledger technologies. What does that mean for the industry? To what extent is it either disruptive or transformative? To what extent do fintech startups either compete or partner with the banks? So there's clearly a lot of discussion there around people seeing the potential of that technology, the potential to apply it in what we do as transaction bankers, but yet to still figure out exactly what does this mean going forward, be it in the payment space or in the trade services space. I think that's one area that clearly has been a hot topic. I think another is around cybersecurity, another very topical subject, looking at either phishing attacks and wire fraud. And really, I think the debate's moved on from sort of beyond what one can do in terms of technological solutions around preventing such fraud in that space, through to really helping customers through raising awareness and education programs and so on. So I think that's been another area that's come up as I think a key theme around the whole cyber space. And I think the third area is really around payments innovation. And if you look at what's happening in terms of the way governments are pushing to get far more lower cost, higher convenience, sort of 24/7 payments services into the hands of consumers, and what that is then doing in terms of driving the overall payment space, and if you like, trickling up into the corporate cash management space, I think that also is, we've seen quite a dramatic change actually in terms of the payment landscape, and we'll see more. So be it from the FAST platform in Singapore through to the new payments platform rolling out in Australia, and these things are driven really by that push to empower the consumer to deliver real-time payments, but is also starting to create some real convergence into the high value, low value, and indeed the way in which maybe cross-border transactions become more domestically centered, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And just to maybe take a look back, the last time Sibos was in Asia was in Osaka in 2012. What do you think has really changed in the transaction banking space in Asia during that time?
Well, I mean, I think the obvious sort of top of the list there is that we've seen clearly particularly with the global banks, the risk remediation, resolution that they've been involved in, and what that has meant in terms of the continued sort of regulatory pressure that's been put on the global banks. And clearly we've seen one of the providers in this industry exit the region. That's caused quite material disruption for the customers of that bank, and we've seen others begin to shrink their footprint. So I think that's clearly one happening, and I think that's still got some way to play, frankly. We can talk about that at the next Sibos too, I suspect. And I think that's had a knock-on impact in terms of having companies, corporate treasurers and CFOs really thinking through the composition of their bank groups. And certainly at DBS, what we're hearing from our customers is that, and particularly even if we talk to the Western multinationals, is given that Asia is a growing material that will continue to be a growing part of their global businesses, looking for banks that really have the understanding and really the entrenchment in Asia, and making sure that their global bank group has the right representation in terms of Asian banks as part of that group. I mean, clearly the likes of DBS, born in Asia, bred in Asia, will always be in Asia. We're looking to deliver Asia to the world. And I think that message is really getting across strongly globally to companies around the world. So I think that's been another sort of major happening.
And you talked about it a little bit, you touched on it a little bit in the first question, but in terms of like this whole fintech startup community, I think DBS is doing some very interesting things, but then also how does that fit into your 2020 strategy?
Yeah, okay, so DBS is hugely active in this space. And I think the way DBS is approaching this is really quite different to the rest of the industry. I think we've seen some other players sort of make investments in various startups and so on. DBS has taken a very different approach in that we've really wanted to sort of harness and change the thinking of our people in terms of how do they engage in this space. personally, I mean, since joining DBS nearly a year ago, being involved in being encouraged to mentor fintech. So DBS has partnered in accelerator programs for fintechs. Fabulous experience, because you're bringing, the financial experience that one has to these startups. In return, one is getting an insight and some, I'd like to think, some sort of technical depth in terms of the technologies, blockchain, distributed ledger, that they're looking to bring to bear. And we've looked to really inject that sort of understanding and that sort of direct participation and engagement right across the team. We've taken hundreds, I think it's over 400 or 500 people through hackathons. And we also seed those hackathon teams with people from the startup community. So we've got, I remember my team when I first arrived buzzing about the fact that not only had they been part of a hackathon, but they produced an app. They'd come in the top 3 of the apps that were produced, went into a Dragon's Den. That then got a tick for commercialization. Now we put it out there in the marketplace. So that really is showing people that you can take ideas, convert ideas to working technology in relatively short periods of time and deliver something to market that has real commercial need. And that clearly is going to continue to drive and change the way we operate as a bank, as an industry. I mean, it's a hugely exciting times in that sense.
Excellent. Okay, thank you so much for your time, and I hope you have a really good conference.
Okay, thank you, Sean.